Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this week's live trade review and live trading session. So we had a very good week last week, and building on that slightly during the course of this week. It's been a couple of different, very different days. A very good day yesterday. A lot of bullion after the market closed. Saw the market probably drop off 100 pips in the last few minutes of trading. Sorry, the announcement that the webinar started has come out after I started. So I want to talk a little bit about that, those moves after the market yesterday. A couple of trades earlier in the week that I'd like to talk about as well. And then just look how we go into this opening bell this afternoon. Obviously the GDP data has come out. Saw a bit of a positive lift in across asset classes, to be honest with you. The indices have moved higher. Gold has moved higher as well. It was trading around 20.35, 20.36, jumped up $8 or $9 and managed to catch two of those moves. Not exactly catch, but catch and wait, I suppose. Had to be a little bit patient to take profit on those, and trying to go into the opening bell reasonably flat. It was a very dramatic move off the highs yesterday. Probably everything pointed towards a higher close yesterday, a continuation of this very bullish market that we've seen over the last couple of months, and then a very sudden sell-off that accelerated into the close. Lots of different analogies and ideas why that happened. One of the ones that seems to be gaining most traction is around something called zero date options, which are options that basically last for just one trading session or one day. Whilst I need to do a bit more of an investigation, on first sight, they're not, or I would imagine that the impact on the market is not dissimilar to what we used to see with binary options, or binary futures, where you take a position on which way the market is going to move from that particular point. Just seems that there must have been a severe concentration of these zero dated options yesterday, which precipitated some of that selling. Maybe not precipitated it, but gave the momentum that we saw with the market falling off to the levels that we did. But we can talk about that again in a few minutes when we look at the trading. So got about 4.5 minutes to go now till the opening bell, and I have 3 positions on. They're all short. Short the Dow, a good bit away from here, so about 100 points from where we are at the moment. And the Dow did recently, after the GDP data and those initial moves, rallied up to about 420, but we've come off about 50 or 60 pips from those highs. Gold, which, as I've said already, rallied up to about 2,045, is now trading at 20.39. So I'm short DAX, Dow, and gold. Just one position in each. The gold move is, or the gold market is obviously moving back nicely to the position that I have. The DAX has a slight profit. The Dow is reasonably hard against me at this particular point. So I think from a market perspective, I think it takes, it's a good thing to look at some of what we saw yesterday. So let's just, and this is this rally that we've seen just recently, up to that 420 level that we're looking at here. Just going to widen this out though. This is a 1 minute market, so I'm just going to widen it out so we can see the drop that we had yesterday afternoon. So the market was moving steadily higher throughout the European session. As you can see with the crosshairs here, it was continuing through to the opening bell in New York, and then we rallied all the way up to about 37,000, just shy of 37,700. Don't know if we quite had that print. We may have done. And then we've started to see this selling pressure start to come in. I think, in my opinion, it was a little bit of profit taking at the beginning, and then that started to accelerate slightly, and then probably around here is where we start to see the impact of these zero date options that's added to that momentum that we've already seen. I think then at that point you start getting more people coming in looking to get out of the trades that they have, secure the profit that they're already holding, and then we fall all the way down to about 37,080 shortly after the closing bell, and then throughout the course of the day we've recovered gradually, I suppose, and then just in that last 25 minute period we've seen that spike, probably a little bit longer than 25 minute period. We've seen that move to the upside and then a sell-off to where we are now, currently around 37,344. Gold was less affected yesterday than we saw in the Dow. We saw a bit of a move lower. Sorry, let me just check what market I've got here. Let me just change this to a 5-minute market. So we've continued to trade for a while now between 2027 on the low up to around 2046 on the high, and that's been the range now since early in December, and we saw some of that move again yesterday when gold sold off to about 2030 after being around the 2042 level earlier in the day. Currencies have seen some decent moves. Just looking at that DAX position I have on at the moment, market's just traded back down to about 16,700. So it's not a big return on that trade, but something that I might as well lock in as I'm talking to you. So just see if it sees a little bit of a dip as I'm talking. We might just put a limit in. We'll just do that now. And we'll see if that triggers as we go through this session. So the Dow's still continuing to come off a little bit. The currencies, I think that probably did trade. I think. Just double check that. Yeah. So it was a really tight take profit. It's triggered already. So just down to the two positions now. Short Dow, which is coming off a little bit, and then gold, which has picked up in the last minute or so since I've been talking. So what I'm going to do, so with the currencies, the euro back up heading towards that 110 level, currently trading around 109.90. Sterling pushing back towards 127, currently trading 126.78. So not a great deal to report there. The DAX obviously closed that trade now, probably took about 15 or 16 pips out of that trade. But looking, the DAX has underperformed the last few days, so I'm always quite happy to sell the DAX. And what you'll see I did prior to the opening bell is I closed out a Dow trade and sold the DAX just to spread out that risk slightly across the different markets. Don't want to build up a position that's too one-sided in any of the indices today. Learned my lesson again on Tuesday this week. I think it was Wednesday last week. It's Tuesday this week. Looking ideally to buy on dips. Don't want to get myself in a position where I'm looking for a top again. I was quite fortunate yesterday. Was short 3 positions in the Dow when the sell-off happened or started to happen. Got out of those far too quickly and should have done an awful lot better than I did. So the market is open now. We traded off a little bit into that opening bell. See there, trading around 37,340. There was a dip down to about 315, but nothing more than that. Just seeing those opening trades coming through now, and the market again reasonably tight range as we settle here around that 37,350 level. As I'm already short, I could look to add to that position. If we see a pop up to around the 380 level, I probably will do that. So we're getting fairly close now, trading 37,370. Didn't quite get there. I think we probably saw 375. Pushing back there again now. So just keep an eye on this, but we're not really just continually to stop short. My previous sell level was here at 360. I'd like to take a little bit more out of it. So we touched 80 there very, very briefly. Goes back to the point that I would have mentioned last week. A limit in there would have triggered. You might not have been filled at 80, but you would have been triggered. And in these fast markets, the limit orders and the TP levels are certainly beneficial. So look like we might trade 80 here again. So we did trade 80, just gone a little bit above it. I'll sell there. Could have got a better price there. Sold at 382. Market's popped up to 395. So I'll continue to monitor that as we go through this session. 400 has traded now in the Dow, and gold is back up to 20,043. So I sold gold there. Sorry, I sold the Dow there. And as I said, I'll monitor that, and as I get back on Telegram later, I'll update you as to where those trades are going. So DAX has jumped back up to slightly above the entry level just before the opening bell. The Dow still trading fairly tightly between about 380 and 390, 380 and 400 at the moment. Currently trading at 391. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and look at the trades for the week and see if we can focus on some of those areas that I was talking about a little bit earlier. See if we can expand on those. If you do have any questions, so Malik is asking, do we have an auto trader? Yes. So Malik, we do. Please email Sam at bullandbearcap.com, and he will speak to you about that, and we can see if we can get that going for you. Anybody else interested in the auto trading system, please just get in touch with Sam as and when you can, and Sam hopefully will take that up with you, Malik, later this afternoon. So in relation to the results for the week, obviously last week was a very good week. Just bring up last week there. So we had a return of 1,054 pips last week. Today this DAX trade has closed. So let me just change that. We have a Dow position that's open now. So I'll update these during the remainder of the afternoon. Just in relation to the week as it stands to date, slow start on Monday, very, very slim pickings. We've seen that a few days during the course of this week. Tuesday, I think I got myself into a situation a bit like Wednesday of last week, where I was looking for a top in the market and failed spectacularly in doing so. And ultimately was stopped out on a large number of those trades. Wednesday was a good day, recovered all of the, pretty much all of the losses for Tuesday. Fairly a silly couple of trades late on, where I bought 37,199, the penultimate trade, which I closed this morning. Silly in that it was too late into the trading day. There was only seconds left after the trade triggered. Bought again at 37,154, expecting the market to rebound, but we got into that period where there was a lack of liquidity, wasn't a great deal of volume going through the market, and there were a few people out there bullying the market lower, and with very little bid or no bid, it was easy for them to push that lower, trigger a few more stops, hurt a few people on the way down, and for those people who weren't able to weather that move, there would have been some ugly closes after the closing bell yesterday. That last trade there, the loss of 45 pips, was one of those for me. And then of course today's been it's not quite as spectacular a day as it should have been. Well, it should have been a more spectacular day yesterday. But with today, we have a fairly steady day, but a day that's pushed the profit up to the level that it currently stands at, around 191 pips. So nowhere near what we saw last week, but still building on those returns from last week. Now, unfortunately, the Dow has continued to move higher. We're up there around 416, 420, so that's the high that we've seen so far today. I'll just continue to monitor that as we get back onto Telegram in a few minutes or so. Gold's popped up as well, 2043. The DAX continues to be quite lackluster. We've seen continuing selling in the DAX. It's underperformed massively versus the Dow over the last couple of weeks, and it looks like it's set to continue to do that. We've not seen, not really catching a bid at all at this stage, so I'll continue to monitor that as we go forward. So what I think I do, just with those markets popping up a little bit, want to keep an eye on those. So I'll leave you here, and I'll be back on Telegram straight away, and should update you on those trades very, very quickly. Thank you very much for joining me today, and I will speak to you soon. Leona.